Yo, what is going on, everybody? So MAGA voters are going bankrupt left and right. Farmers are losing their ranches, utility bills are through the roof, and now they want US to feel sorry for them. The same people who told everyone else to pull themselves up by their bootstraps are now crying for government handouts. You cannot make this stuff up. Welcome back to Mind Mirror. Let's get into it.
Well, as expected, farm bankruptcies are on the rise. Turns out that USAID bought a lot of grain to ship around the world. And now the people that buy that grain to sell to the government are stuck with silos and silos of it and can't do nothing with it. And the farmers updated their farms with the promise under an act that was passed by Congress that would reimburse them for half of the money, and Donald Trump has illegally canceled those contracts. So now they're on the hook for the full amount that they can't afford. Turns out they fucked around and found out, and I have no sympathy.
The United States has added $1 trillion in debt in just 48 days. And that brings the total federal debt close to $38 trillion, 5 years ahead of earlier projections. Meanwhile, the government spending has surged to 44% of the GDP, levels unseen since...
$1 trillion in debt in just 40 days. Let that sink in for a second. These are the same people who screamed about government spending under Biden every single day. Now the debt is at $38 trillion, 5 years ahead of projections, and suddenly nobody wants to talk about fiscal responsibility. Spending is at 44% of GDP, levels we haven't seen since we were literally fighting a world war. And the guys who campaigned on draining the swamp and cutting waste are spending faster than anyone in modern history. Where's all that deficit hawk energy now? Where are the tweets? Where are the rally chants? Funny how the math only matters when the other team is in charge.
World War II.
Explain something to me. I live in Alabama, and
another FIFO
usually averages between $200 $250 a month. Can someone please explain to me how my utility bill went from $250 a month to $696 this month? Could someone just please explain that to me? I know.
Let me show you why. Ready? This guy. That's why your electric bill went up. Trump. No more subsidies for Alabama. No more subsidies for red states. Woo! MAGA. Woo! Go Trump. Go broke.
Accounts have been debited. They're just taking money out of people's accounts as part of their utility bill. Oh, Trump cut off all that money. That's been helping pay your utility bill, Alabama. And so now we're going to start taking all that money back. And by the way, you owe. You owe. You have to pay money. More than you have been, not only for your additional bills, you have to pay back what Trump is no longer allowing to be spent. And that, Alabama utility customers finding, hundreds of dollars taken out of their account in the middle of winter, right? I mean, I guess it's a small story in the grand scheme of things, given what's going on in our whole country. But for people in Alabama, that's a real and immediate and hugely expensive thing that is very obviously Donald Trump's fault.
Hundreds of dollars just vanishing from people's bank accounts in the middle of winter. No warning, no letter, no heads up, just gone. The subsidies that kept those bills manageable got axed overnight with zero transition plan. Nobody in a corner office is losing sleep over whether some family in Alabama can afford to stay warm. Decisions made on spreadsheets, consequences felt in living rooms. And these aren't blue state liberals complaining on Twitter. This is deep red Alabama getting hammered by the guy they elected. Maybe next election read the fine print on what cutting spending actually means for your household.
I just got my utility bill. I'm so scared. Those of you living in North Alabama know this fear. Apparently TVA is charging coastal utilities more for whatever, and then it's 100 million degrees of hell. I'm so scared. So 753 $753. And guys, it's all electric. For those of you that don't know, Huntsville Utilities, everything's on here. Water, sprinkler, gas, electric, sewer, trash, taxes, whatever, okay? Nothing else is extraordinary except electric at 606. We have changed nothing from last month, nor from last summer. That we do when it's hot.
Hey guys, welcome back again to my channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking. When you saw this video, so residents of Alabama is currently finding out in a very strong manner because the prices of the electricity just skyrocketed overnight. Imagine waking up in the morning and you find out that you have been slammed with extra $100 worth of electricity. That's exactly what they're finding out right now, and a lot of them are regretting their vote because it has happened.
She's laying it out perfectly, and the frustration in her voice says everything. People woke up one morning with an extra $100 slapped on their electricity bill out of nowhere. No policy change on their end, no new appliances, nothing. Just the government pulling the rug, and now they're regretting their vote. But here's what gets me. This information was available before the election. The policy proposals were public. People just chose vibes over research. Every single person watching this right now needs to understand something. Your vote isn't a sports jersey you wear to feel good. It's a contract with real financial consequences that show up on your doorstep.
They didn't see this coming, but it is what it is. So these guys massively voted for the current administration, and now they can no longer afford to.
Can we just talk for a minute about the Arkansas soybean farmers? Arkansas voted 2/3 for Trump. Trump had promised to implement tariffs. Trump then implemented those tariffs. China has retaliated, and because our soybeans, the tariff war made our soybeans too expensive, they decided to buy their soybeans from Brazil, signed 20-year contracts with Brazil, and now for a generation, the Arkansas soybean farmers are screwed because they lost their biggest soybean customer. And they are demanding compensation. Demanding. I mean, I almost admire it. I almost admire the audacity. But they said they don't really like taking government handouts, but, they really don't have
20-year contracts with Brazil. A full generation of business gone permanently. China looked at the tariffs, did the math, and said we'll get our soybeans elsewhere forever. And now Arkansas farmers are first in line demanding government compensation, the same demographic that posts nobody wants to work anymore and complains about welfare. Suddenly government handouts aren't so embarrassing when your farm is underwater. Here's a free business lesson. If your livelihood depends on international trade, maybe understand trade policy before you vote. That's not political advice, that's just survival.
choice, and they are demanding that we compensate them.
Regina Foley messaged me, and she says she is retired in Greensboro, North Carolina. She is a registered Republican all her life. She voted for you 3 different times, but she is not happy about how her prices have not come down that she sees. And she said this, quote, "I want the Republicans to keep control of Congress in 2026, but something has to be done fast. I don't see the best economy right now. Wall Street numbers do not reflect my Main Street money. Please do something, President Trump." So I guess what do you say to Regina and people like her?
Well, I do say this. Beef we have to get down. I think of groceries. You know, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word. Beef we have to get down, but we've got prices way down.
So for all you fucking MAGA snowflakes that voted for Trump for the economy, for gas prices and cheaper eggs, I want to tell you something that you probably don't know because you don't know how to do research. Trump announced his 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada today. And that sounds great, you know, wonderful. Except for the fact that only about 10% of the oil that we use in the U.S. comes from the Middle East. You know where the rest of it comes from? Mexico and fucking Canada. So guess what? When gas prices are up at 45% in the next 6 months, I'm going to go around and I'm going to stick those stupid fucking stickers that you guys put on the gas pumps during COVID when Biden was president. Only this time it's going to have Trump's face and it's going to...
The math on this is so simple, it hurts. Only 10% of U.S. oil comes from the Middle East. The vast majority flows from Mexico and Canada. So you slap 25% tariffs on your 2 biggest oil suppliers and then act shocked when gas prices spike. Remember those little "I did that" Biden stickers on every gas pump? Well, that energy is coming back around hard. Here's what nobody wants to hear. Tariffs are not paid by other countries. They're paid by you at the pump at the register every single time. Making imports more expensive was never going to make your life cheaper. That's not opinion, that's Econ 101, and millions of people just chose to skip that class.
to say, "I did that." And you guys are going to have...
MAGA has made hate their brand. And let's be clear, their mission is white nationalism. For years, they've spewed venom at black folks, immigrants, Muslims, women, LGBTQ folks, anybody for that matter outside of their little bubble. And they didn't whisper it. They screamed it. They monetized it. They turned cruelty into content. They cheered violence. They laughed at suffering. And anytime somebody that they hate got hurt or silenced, they called it justice. But now Charlie Kirk is dead, and they're calling for compassion. They want us to forget the years of bile, the dehumanization, the glee over other people's pain, and instead shed tears for their mouthpiece. But, man, that's just not how this works. You can't build your entire movement on the downfall or celebrating the downfall of others, then demand empathy when the same storm comes to you. But that's the hypocrisy of MAGA. Hate as a mission, cruelty as a strategy, white nationalism as a brand. But the second they face what they cheer for, they want to play the victim. Words have power.
She's earned every word of this, and it cuts deep. Years of celebrating other people's suffering, monetizing cruelty, turning pain into content and engagement, and the moment consequences show up at their door. Suddenly it's, where's the compassion? Nah, that's not how any of this works. You don't write the rules of the game, then cry foul when those same rules apply to you. I'll be honest. I think we should be better. Helping people even when they wouldn't help us is what separates us. But I refuse to pretend the irony isn't absolutely suffocating right now.
Remember that.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported, and he was coming after immigrants. Yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of
70% of their workforce. Let that number sit with you. She knew, her husband knew, every rancher in Nebraska knew mass deportations were coming, and they voted for it anyway while their entire operation ran on undocumented labor. Now the workers fled, the ranch is collapsing, and she's on camera saying, I guess it was a bit foolish. A bit foolish is forgetting your keys. Voting to deport your own workforce is a catastrophic business decision. She literally said, we voted for our own demise. And that might be the most honest sentence any supporter has ever spoken. Your vote isn't a bumper sticker, it's a policy choice. Research what you're signing up for before you cast that ballot.
business.
All right, I hate asking for help. I'm not asking for any handouts, but I'm a small business owner that is directly being affected by the 104% tariff that has been put on China.
Ooh, let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
The one demographic in this country I feel no sympathy for if they suffer is the white male conservative. Because you don't care about me. You don't care about the greater good. And you haven't for a very long time. White people in specific have been voting majority conservative since 1964 when Lyndon B. Johnson was elected as president. You tell me you're a business owner, which leads me to believe that you're a little bit smart. You didn't see what Trump did in his first term? He was terrible for business. He was terrible for the middle class in his first term. He was terrible for the little guy. And what's annoying about this is you will learn nothing because people tried to check you on that video and you learned nothing.
I love this for you. I love this. Nice. I love this for you. I love to see you fail. I love to see your family be affected and hurt because you voted for Trump. Yeah, I voted for Trump. Absolutely.
If Donald Trump somehow waved the magic wand and ran for re-election in 2028, you would vote for him out of a cardboard box on the side of the street that he put you in. And therein lies the issue. You'd rather starve than hold hands with the oppressed.
This is how it went.
No, you can't and I'm sure you will find.
Very happy and excited that Trump won. As far as financially, obviously nothing's really changed. We're still under the Biden administration, but I know that it is coming, and
this is how it's going.
So I admit I regret my vote for Donald Trump. I regret it because I needed these changes sooner. I needed the prices to go down sooner so that I didn't drain out my bank account.
She's in tears and her bank account is drained. And look, I'm not going to mock somebody's genuine pain, but the frustration is that everyone warned her. Economists warned her. Policy experts warned her. The response was always, you don't know what you're talking about, or Trump's a businessman, he gets it. Well, here we are, and the experts were right. Again, shocking absolutely nobody. She said she regrets her vote because prices didn't come down fast enough. But the truth is they were never coming down. Tariffs raise prices. That's not a debate, that's a mathematical fact. Stop outsourcing your financial future to campaign slogans and start reading actual policy before you vote.
Yeah, you regret your vote. And you know what? You're saying that you regret your vote. You're on video here crying your eyes out because you learned the hard way that Donald Trump does not mean lower prices for you. He again stated over and over and over again that he was going to do blanket tariffs. We told you he was going to raise prices. You guys said, no, we don't know what we're talking about. Experts who've studied this for 10 plus years.
And Jennifer, I would not give you the sweat off my if you were dying of thirst.
A Trump supporter has just lost their job directly because of Donald Trump's policies, and they are in a state of confusion. They are reaching out to Donald Trump for help and thinking that this should not have happened to them. Take a look at this. This person says, my wife is a nurse and was recently hired by the VA. Our home is packed up. We have a new home, spent thousands to move from Fort Worth to Waco. Following Trump's hiring freeze, the VA rescinded her job offer. Now look at what's highlighted. We are all huge Trump supporters, and I know this was an unintended consequence. What do you mean it was unintended? Did they really believe that Donald Trump could create policies that would only affect non-Trump voters, that somehow Trump voters wouldn't be caught up in all of this? This is the find out phase. This is exactly what you voted for, someone who would sow chaos. And it's not just going to affect the people you don't like, it will affect you too. And now all I can think is that this guy and his family are singing, I never thought. A Trump supporter has just lost their job directly because of Donald Trump's policies, and they are in a state of confusion. They are reaching out to Donald Trump for help and thinking that this should not have happened to them. Take a look at this. This person says, my wife is a nurse and was recently hired by the VA. Our home is packed up. We have a new home, spent thousands to move from Fort Worth to Waco. Following Trump's hiring freeze, the VA rescinded her job offer. Now look at what's highlighted. We are all huge Trump supporters, and I know this was an unintended consequence. What do you mean it was unintended? Did they really believe that Donald Trump could create policies that would only affect non-Trump voters, that somehow Trump voters wouldn't be caught up in all of this? This is the find out phase. This is exactly what you voted for, someone who would sow chaos. And it's not just going to affect the people you don't like, it will affect you too. And now all I can think is that this guy and his family are singing, I never thought.
Morning, my Fatho peeps. Fatho show coming to you live this morning from Denver, Colorado. Today we're going to talk about Dalton. Who is Dalton, might you ask? We're not talking about a person named Dalton. We're talking about a city named Dalton, Georgia, where 72-ish% of their voters, registered voters, voted for little, Donnie Two Scoops there, as Hawk would say. Herbert Hoover. Our new incoming president, Grover Cleveland. And of those residents in Dalton, Georgia, about 40% or so are Hispanic. Dalton is known as the carpet capital of the world, being, so much carpet is manufactured there. It's a giant industry. It's also the home of margarine. Yes, indeed, Margarine Taylor Greene. That's her district. So the people in Dalton, Georgia, are now wondering what's going to happen to all those Hispanics that work to manufacture all this carpet. Is our economy going to crash? Now they're pissed off at Donald Trump because, well, mass deportations. Maybe it's something you should have thought about when you were voting, but instead you decided to fuck around. And now you're going to find out. Yes, people of Dalton, Georgia, I have zero sympathy for you. You made your bed. Time to lie in it. F-A-F-O, my friends.
The carpet capital of the world about to become the cautionary tale capital of Georgia. 72% voted one way. 40% of the population is Hispanic and builds the entire industry. You don't need a calculator to see that equation doesn't balance. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene's own district, the woman who screams about deportation daily on cable news. Now the very people who cheered those speeches are panicking because the local economy is about to implode. Immigration isn't just a talking point you yell about at rallies. It's the backbone of entire communities and industries. When you vote based on vibes instead of policy analysis, this is the result. Consequences don't care about your yard signs or your loyalty. They just show up.
Yes, I think sooner or later those of us on the FAFO Nation are going to change our pronouns to told you so. Yeah.
A reporter asked a question about young voters who voted Trump because they were promised lower prices and no wars. And Caroline Levitt goes, everything Trump is doing, he's doing for young people.
In my reporting, I speak a lot to young voters, many of whom voted for President Trump for the first time in 2024, hoping to have no more wars and to have lower prices. Now, with the war taking place and with gas prices going up, curious what President Trump's message would be to those voters who kind of swung into his coalition in 2024, but maybe don't feel the administration's going as they had expected.
President Trump is doing this for you. He's doing this for young people so that we are no longer threatened.
Every single clip had the same energy. They thought the consequences would only hit other people. They thought loyalty was a shield, but policy doesn't have a VIP list. Tariffs don't skip your cart. Deportations don't check if the economy needs those workers. Budget cuts don't ask who you voted for. So here's my question. Do you think any of these folks will actually learn from this, or will they just point fingers and do the exact same thing next election? Drop your answer in the comments. Like, share, subscribe.